Okay, we are going to be replacing the motor mounts on the Saturn. Now, I did a video on this years ago and I skipped the transmission mount. This time, we're going to start with the transmission mount, make sure we get that in here. So, first off, let's give you a before, start it up, and it's loud. It rattles pretty good in here. You can already hear some rattling going on. Now, typically, it's this motor mount right here, and you hear the noise more on this side. So typically, this top passenger side motor mount is what fails, but we bought all 4 of them, so let's just replace all 4 of them. Now, I believe to get the transmission mount off, we're gonna have to take off the other ones, or at the very least, loosen them. So just quick rundown. You got the obvious one up here. There's a dog bone directly below it. There's another dog bone here, directly under the air filter. But we do have this one, the transmission mount, which is hidden back here. This is the one we're trying to get to. So we have to remove this plastic piece. There's a clip somewhere and probably a 10mm bolt. So let's take that off. Just the one clip down there. You can use a screwdriver or the special tool, which I don't have, but a screwdriver works. And then there's a tab up here. I think that's it. We just gotta get it out of place. Just make sure you put it back in the right place. With that cover removed, we can see the transmission here. And taking a look down here, this is the transmission mount that we want to remove. So it looks like there's 2 10mm. There, you can see 1, 2. Let's take that off. It won't be able to come out yet, but we can at least start loosening it. Okay, got the 2 bolts out. I guess it's not really necessary to do that way, but my plan here is now to lift the engine and the trans up to clear the stud, and then I'll be able to unbolt, because there's a long stud that goes into the subframe here. Take that nut off. Once we clear the motor mount, then I know how much room I have, and then I can just pull it out. But in order to make sure I have that room, based on what everyone says, I'm going to go ahead and start loosening some of these mounts. So definitely, we're going to loosen that. But let's take off the air filter and get to the dog bone down here. So 4 tabs, and then we got at least 2 10mm on the back side. Maybe another one on the front. Can't forget the clip here. Now we can take this air box out. Attaches. Looks like I was missing one of the 10mm, so I only had 2 in my case. Might need 2 hands for this. There we go. And then I got the IAC down here. Definitely gonna need 2 hands for that, but then that will just pop out. I got my jack supporting the oil pan with a block of wood to disperse the weight, so that way I don't just crunch the oil pan. With the airbox removed, we can see our dog bone right here. It's 2 13s, so we'll be able to take that off. I guess we could just, take off this side for now, because that'll be enough to lift it up. Doesn't really matter. That dog bone mount is loosened. Now we're doing this one. I already broke it loose with breaker bar. Now I'm using my impact. Only got to do the 2 to the frame here, as it will allow the whole thing to lift off. We don't have to do that yet. Okay, so I don't know how high we got to go. We might just remove. I'll keep one nut on for now. Let's see how high we got to lift this. To take the trans mount off, long stud to a nut through the hole in the cross member right here. It's a 15. Let's break it loose. And with the nut off, here it is. We'll just set it right there. Now we can jack the engine up. I realized I haven't loosened this dog bone on here behind the wheel liner there, but we might not have to. So I have 2 jacks set up. This one's on the engine, the oil pan. This one's on the transmission. What we're trying to do is lift the engine up and tilt it kind of that way. That will give us the most room to clear to get that out. Now, the automatic transmission, which this one is taller than the manual, so it might be more difficult, but let's give it a go. So when I raise the trans one, you can see everything lifting. Now let me lift the engine side. Now let's just play a little game like this. Go back and forth. And just real gentle. Okay, that's all the lifting I did, just what you saw on camera there. Now let's take a look. And the mount is loose. Can we pull it up and out? Probably not yet. It is close. Let's give it a couple more pumps. We're almost there, but this is the idea. And there we go. That was really easy, actually. I remember people were saying you gotta drop the subframe and lift the engine up crazy mount. I mean, that really wasn't even that bad. So let's compare it to the new mount. Okay, so we got the old versus the new. It's identical. You can see this one was ripped a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit. Now the difference is the stud on the new one is much longer, actually. It's a couple threads longer. So that could be why it's difficult to install. Let's give it a go. If it's not working out, we can always cut this down to match that size. And anyways, there was more than enough thread on the end anyway, so we could cut it to make our jobs easier. That's an option. Nope. Okay. So rather than just fight with it, what I'm going to do is just cut the stud. So after a closer measurement, they are the same. However, the new one is threaded to the bottom, this one's not. That makes the end of this skinnier, and that allows it to actually fit and maneuver, whereas this one's a little wider, and I can't angle it in enough. The skinny part here, the non-threaded part, it's not threaded, so the nut doesn't even go there. The nut sticks out. So we thread in, and looking at the color, right about here to the top of my finger, about halfway down. So we don't even need any of this excess. So what I can do is just chop off the last couple of threads on here to match right about to where the thread ends there. We'll go about halfway in the middle to play it safe. But that should give me enough room to make this work. I just cut off the last 3 threads of it, and you screw the nut on first, and then you unthread the nut, and that cleans up any of the damaged threads. There we go. And we are good. So I can run the nut in there a couple times, just clean it up even further, but there we go, we got a shortened stud. Using a pry bar just to push the transmission back that way and up a little bit. This mount slid right in. So let's get our nut attached, and then we can start lining up the transmission, bringing it down. Gonna throw on the new dog bone right now. This is the new one, this is the old. Is this the OE one? I've only seen this design where it's super thin here and this type of rubber. I've never seen this design, I've never seen this color, but maybe I've only seen the replacement ones. Maybe these ones fail, I don't know. But let's throw this one in. I'm keeping everything loose right now. Got the new mount in, still loose like I said. Lowered the engine and the trans down, and now we're almost lined up. I can actually lift it up. So I'm going to lift it up, bolt it in, tighten it, and then drop everything down, and then I can start torquing. We are ready to start torquing. So again, I haven't done the motor mounts on this side yet, but the engine is fully down. I'm not supporting it anymore. I snugged up the bolt here on the dog bone that's going to the transmission. This one's loose still. We're going to tighten the transmission mount first. The two 10mm have been tightened. I don't know the torque spec on them. They're not much because it's not load bearing or anything. Now, the nut for the trans mount torques to 37 foot-pounds. And most of these motor mount bolts do. So we're gonna go ahead and tighten this all the way down to 37 foot-pounds. And again, 37 foot-pounds for the dog bone. So again, jack on the oil pan supporting. I lifted it up a little bit to relieve the tension. Now this comes right on out. We can take our new one here and just line it up, drop it in. Now I believe these ones have a different torque spec than these two. So I couldn't quite find it. I didn't spend that much time researching. 37 foot-pounds would be enough, but because I remember them being different. Let's do 37 foot-pounds here. We're going to do 52 down here. So first we're going to tighten to the timing cover, and then we'll tighten these ones once the engine's back down. There we go. These three are 37 foot-pounds. And I'm not going to do these ones yet because we still got to get to the dog bone down here. So let's take off this wheel off. We got to take off this wheel liner. So we got a clip over here. And then we got one more down here. Wheel liner removed. We can see our final dog bone right here. They're both 13s. And again, still have the engine supported, because once we remove it, if we don't, it's going to want to fall down. Bolts removed. Now, I can move it, but I can't get it out because we need the engine to go up quite a bit. So, now we jack and lift up. Let's see if that's enough. There we go. Got it out. Old versus new. Similar story. So this must be an OEM mount then. This must be the aftermarket style. Two hands, was able to get in and just push the axle boot back a little bit. But fits in no problem. The engine really isn't jacked up all that high. You can see we're still within the holes here. Well, barely. So now if I let it come down, let's check how it is on the bottom here. And that's lined up. So we'll shove our bolt in. They were different sizes. The longer one goes on the bottom. Shove this bolt in there. Give it a tighten. And again, 37 foot-pounds. Or 52. I've seen both readings, but I'm going to do 37. Jacks are finally done. It is fully rested. So a reminder, don't torque these two bolts or these two until everything is just being supported by the mounts themselves. Now, we can snug it up and then get our torque wrench, tighten then. Everything is back together. Only thing left to do is listen to the after. See how it does. Still pretty loud. That noise actually sounds like maybe the bearing and the AC compressor is going bad. Maybe there's bad tension, or that could be what it is. But let's see how it revs. It is running good. Nice and smooth. Whole car's not shaking. Yeah. So not quite what I thought. I thought it was going to take care of this noise. However, at least we have new motor mounts in. Some of them, it needed it. The dog bones, not so much. Those don't really wear out too much. But the trans mount and the passenger mount here, those do. And those ones needed it. Looks like I still got a noise to hunt down, but we got the mounts in, showed you how to do it. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.